Many men want to know how to break the temptation or the desire to relapse or to edge. And when you're on the semen retention journey, and by the way, welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. And people want to know, the most questions that I get asked is how to stop the addiction to corn and to relapsing. Like how to go longer than a certain amount of days. And I don't think that's the right question to be asking yourself, to be honest. I don't think it's the right question at all. In fact, I think what you need to be asking yourself is, how can I focus on doing what I need to get done? No matter if I'm relapsing or if I'm going into any addiction or whatnot. Because if you can just focus on getting done what you need to get done during that day, whether you relapse or not, because a lot of people are so focused on trying not to relapse or trying not to fall into the addiction again, that they end up contradicting themselves and self-sabotaging themselves. And something that I've noticed with men who are striving toward a godly path, maybe they're on the godly path and then there's just these obstacles that they have to overcome, or they're just trying to get to the narrow path, right? They're just trying to get to that godlike mindset. What you have to recognize is that it's going to be better for you not to focus on how to get rid of the addiction, but just if you do happen to fall into the addiction or to relapsing, how do you get back, like stay on the path or get back on the path and have a quicker reaction time to getting back on the path? Because if you can manage to decrease the amount of actions that it takes to re-sustain yourself and re-stabilize yourself, then I think that you can also be able to see that there's more to the addiction than the addiction itself that you need to focus on here. It's about actually focusing on things that are going to be beyond the addiction. And when you do that, you're going to reprogram your mind. Okay, remember that we are interdimensional beings, but we live in this three-dimensional space. Okay, think about this. Everybody knows someone that's died, right? Maybe it's a grandparent or an uncle or something like that, or an aunt, whatever the case, maybe even your own family parents, right? Who knows? But usually everybody knows someone that's died. Now, they're not physically here, right? But you can access those memories with them, generally speaking, right? You can remember what it's like to be in that place with that person. Okay, maybe just take a moment, maybe let this be a meditative exercise for you. You know, just be able to acknowledge whatever time or person that comes up and try to relive that moment in your own mind for a second. Now come back when you're ready and remember that what you just did was time travel, essentially. Okay, you're an interdimensional being. So the third dimension, time only exists in the third dimension. So we experience time linearly, but we can access it forward, backward, whatever, because we're multidimensional, we're interdimensional. It's not a matter of this way or that way or how to get there or how to get not over there. It's a matter of within and without. What's within and what's without. If you can determine what's within and what's without, then you'll be able to determine your more of a boundary, number one, but number two, a good solid sense of what it's like to live in accordance to the laws, the natural spiritual laws that exist already. Because you can pull information. You can look at the future and almost manifest the information there. You can look at the past and you can just manifest the information there. Like your memories are basically access points, right? You are an access point. And on semen retention, what I want you to focus on is not relapsing. or relapsing in general. Like, because if you do relapse, don't be too hard on yourself. Okay, don't try to sabotage yourself, because you're either going to be sabotaging on this journey, or you're going to be going to infinity and beyond. That's really the only two options. That is, if your goal and your aim, rather, is to grow closer to God and do what this actually is meant to do for, your purpose here. So think about this. If you can manifest things, right? And I don't mean manifest as in like wish it into existence. Okay, like one of those crystal ladies. I don't no. Not that. Because although there's truth to this, it's not the truth, right? And I want to focus on the truth. I don't want to focus on your truth or my truth. There is just the truth, and there is falsehoods. And experience is a truth. It actually is objective truth as well. Like it's interesting, for example, how I can say certain things as a message to people, and one group of people could take it very differently from the other group of people, even though I said the same thing. Well, what does that mean? It means that based on the objective experience of the totalities of consciousness that is there within those groups, it's going to be perceived differently, because they haven't had objective experience in this area, or they have had objective experience in that area, or whatever the case may be. So the best thing to do when you are seeing through the veil of consciousness, right? Because this is a veil. Like when you realize that this whole life is a game, that this is not just a room, okay? This is not just a place to be. I'm filming this. I'm talking to something where hopefully thousands and thousands of people are going to be able to relate to this message, or to be able to take this message and move something within their life to make themselves and their own lives a little bit better than it was before. That's the aim, right? I'm here to ensure that godly people are not actually alone. Okay, we don't have to be alone on this journey. Even though it may be isolating, that's the enemy. And that's what Satan wants us to be, is isolated. He doesn't want us to have a godly community. He doesn't want us to be able to know how to get out of the time loop. Because once you get out of the time loop that the devil wants you in, because if I were the devil, I'd want you in a time loop, because that way you'd never be able to grow. Well, what does that mean then? You have to stay stuck in the third dimensional frame of thought in order to be in the time loop. So in order to get out of the time loop, you have to think interdimensionally. What's within and what's without. Okay, remember when you just did that meditative experience where you recalled that memory with that person? You were accessing something that was not physically here, right? Okay, of course there's three dimensions here, but you were accessing something that was interdimensional. You were accessing something that happened but is not happening in the third dimension. So what does that tell us about ourselves? That, well, in order to experience the third dimension, we have to be multidimensional. More than that. We have to be more than 3 dimensions. We have to be at least 4-dimensional. Now, I'm not saying that we're not, or that we can't be more than that. I'm just saying that it is the case. Don't get caught up too much, though, in the dimensions thing, because what I really want to hone in on is, because some people, it might go over your head, some people, it might not. The hope is that it's being explained simply enough to where anybody could understand it. So when you get to a point, though, on your semen retention journey that you start to be able to manifest anything with ease, because you can do that. Like if you pray about it, you focus on it, you bring your attention to investing in certain frames of thought rather than paying for certain frames of thought, you're going to really reap the rewards of the depth of your own embracing of wisdom, I would say. That's the best way to describe it. And so when you make your trail upon the earth and you walk your walk that you're walking here on this planet, you are going to naturally invite or attract certain frames of being and frames of thought, or you're going to be, depending on what you're investing your time and energy and resources into, you're going to be moving more toward a doomer state, which I've made a video on doomer maxing recently. If you're going to be doomer maxing, go all in. Okay, go all in on the doomer maxing, because you're going to get to a point to where it's too much, it's too annoying, and you just want to go back to regular life. And that's pretty much the goal. You doomer max so hard that you get out of the doomer mentality, right? That's the way that I look at it. Now, it's not to say that there's not anything real or that there's no benefit from doomer maxing. It's just that if you're going to be on semen retention and you're going to strive to live a pure life, you have to know what's going on in the world too. I think it's our sacred duty to understand the spirit of the time. Okay, it's, as godly people, we have to understand what the spirit of the time is so that we can start to plant seeds of truth, of real truth, not just my truth or your truth. It's the truth given the spirit of the time. Okay, that's what we need to be focused on here as well. And if you're going to be relapsing and you're just so focused on not relapsing, you have to realize that we have bigger problems. Okay, there's bigger problems here. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on your relapsing or whatnot, but what I'm saying is that if you're going to be stuck, okay, in that time loop that the devil wants you in, focusing on, oh, I can only go 1 or 2 days without relapsing, or I can only go a month without relapsing, or whatever your case is, right? Because every guy that I've talked to about this kind of thing is different. It's a lifestyle change. It's not about how many days can you go, how many months can you go. It's just, can you live your life denying your flesh and pursuing that which is highest for your own life, so that you can be a vessel of the ancestral Father, so that you can honor the laws, statutes, and commandments that God made for us and for you specifically. I mean, you can make it personal. So he made this for you. He made these commandments for you, not because he wants you to be under tyrannical rule, but because this is how you transcend yourself. As, like, if we are meant to be godlike, you have to know what it's like to not be godlike. You have to know what it's like to move beyond that. Why do you think all of these stories of the Greek myths or the Egyptian myths, Zeus or Athena or Aphrodite, even Rome, like in ancient Rome, like Jupiter or Saturn, all these other gods and goddesses, Iris, who else am I thinking of with the Egyptians? Osiris, all of these, different, Anubis, all these different gods and goddesses, they're fallen angels. We have to look at it like that. They're fallen angels. Why? Because they don't know what it's like to be human. There's even a quote in Troy that's just so profound. Brad Pitt, when he's in the movie, he's talking about how the gods envy us because we're mortal. Every single second, like, we know that things aren't going to last, and that's what makes things so beautiful. Whereas the gods, they're always there. They're going to be there forever, and they don't get to experience the mortality. Okay, so if you want to even translate that and go beyond this frame of thought and this frame of mind to actually applying it to Christian principles, which are not pagan, by the way, but we look at these, and these are fallen angels. Okay, anybody that's read the book of Enoch, if you haven't read the book of Enoch, I highly suggest reading the book of Enoch. I'm working with someone right now where he's just been introduced to the book of Enoch through me, and we've been talking about it, and We're now we're getting deep, man. We're getting deep. But I hope you guys are understanding. I hope this isn't like too crazy or anything like that. But if you relapse, it's not a big deal though. Like that's really one of the main things I really want to focus on as well with this video is don't beat yourself up. Don't sabotage yourself just because you relapse. Pick yourself up. Just like don't focus on the relapse. Focus on what you need to get done during the day. Like if you have a job, or maybe you're in a relationship and you're waiting. You're waiting for marriage or whatever the case is, right? If you are a man that needs to do things and you're busy with your life, you're like the relapses, those are going to be like a side thing that you don't even have to worry about. But if your main focus is the relapse, you got to get bigger problems. Okay, get bigger problems. See the broader picture of this reality. Okay, and that's why I went into the details that I did today. So with all that being said, I hope that this message was useful and insightful for you. Stay blessed. Check out the free Telegram channel that I have. Check out the Regal Change Academy, or schedule a one-on-one mentorship call with me, or sign up for the Godlike Mastery Initiation Program, all right? We've got a lot of options for everybody that are depending on what they want, depending on what they need. That's what I have to offer. So I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace.